About Sifuna as a candidate that is supported by Kenyans, right, who is out there right now and is showing every signs of even many pushing him to be, with another individual that is being appreciated across the country despite of where he's coming from, Ndindi Nyoro. A candidature of the two. Would that then change the matrix that you talk about?
It will change significantly because
that they do not need these other political parties to break their ambitions, just the two of them as wild stallions running for that seat.
One thing I want you not to forget is that in political communication, the messengers are always the politicians. That is why government policy, for it to be very successful, is normally communicated through politicians and not through the administrative angles. For it to gain legitimacy, it's passed through politicians. Now, for you to gain legitimacy politically, you must talk to politicians. If you remember Mishuki, just before 2013 elections, he said, ukitaka kuongea na jamii ya Wagikuyu, utaongea ukipitia Uhuru. You can't talk to Gikuyu without Uhuru. There's a reason as to why it is structured as such. So my answer to you is this, Aseto, that yes, Sifuna as he is, still must talk to the rest. Because it is these people who will make him. Remember, if you understand politics in its very basic essence, people have donated their power to think, number one, majorly, to think for themselves, to somebody to give that direction. That's why we have the concept of kingpins. That once Dennis decides for us where we are going, that's right. Okay? And so many people believe they've been made to believe that they're not able to understand. They're not able to think for themselves. So their political leaders think for themselves. To answer his question, the third question, Linda Grant and Lindamwananchi striking a deal. This is the most potent card for ODM to get the deputy president position. But right now, they're messing it up. I've always said it all the times I've come here. ODM, especially as led by Oburu, who says he was Raila's confidant? Who says Raila was his twin brother? Who says Raila?
Yes.
He says that he does not understand that Raila was having this fellow called Sifuna as his exit plan. He's saying he doesn't understand that they were meant to get into government as a negotiation tactic. So as of now, you can see all the things that are happening in ODM. They are very much dismissive about Sifuna. But today, ODM to gain legitimacy, to regain legitimacy, what has to happen?
But
they have to swing back to Sifuna. They have to swing back to Sifuna. If they can't swing back to Sifuna, ODM is done, taken away.
So the D in ODM becomes done.
It's done. In fact, it's orange done.
How presidential policy will be laid, it doesn't sound like it has anything to do with that. Should we be concerned?
Well, it does and it doesn't. It doesn't to the extent that this is a political calculation. And so let us excuse first the technical bit. Ikae nje kidogo. On this end, we're looking at the politicians deciding for themselves what is in their best interest. Okay? And we are sharing with the people so that they understand that the politicians normally really don't care about them when they're making their choices. So as they make their choices, the first interest that they're looking at is their own. That if I take Aseto and work with him, I'm certain Aseto will give me A, B, C, D, which I will share. But then number two comes the question of who is the deputy president? Now for the people. So first, the deputy president is for the president before for the people.
Yes.
Then the people come in. How do the people come in? Now we look at, is this a politically charged person? Or is this a political technocrat? We are first moving from a politically charged person, a polarizing character like Rigathi, and we are moving to political technocracy, where we are saying we need a deputy who is a stable character around the president, who has the emotional intelligence around the president, and who, apart from advocating for the interests of the people, also balances so that the presidency remains stable. Okay? So yes, it is one that the people, the presidential candidates don't really care much about you when they're making that decision. That is why President Ruto disregarded these people and told them, you know what, mmechagua Kindiki, lakini kwa ile hesabu yangu, the mobilizer, the tinga who can help me move Mount Kenya ni huyu Rigathi. First is his interest before the interest of the people. Then later on he says, okay, now we've crossed the bridge.
I don't need this guy anymore.
Well, I may need you, but if you know how to sit around the table. Yeah, because where money is made, you don't ask so many questions.
Be a pretty
you
boy, sit in the corner.
You know? So he realizes, moving forward, this guy seems not to be speaking from the same side as me, because we must first fight as a team before we do our things inside. But again, in that question of the presidency, the other point comes, it's a mathematical question of the ordinates. You know how the ordinates work? Where we talk about X, Y, and where they meet.
Yes.
So when the president is the ordinate, you cannot subordinate him. Now when you subordinate him, what does he do? He gets you out because you're not balancing
the choice of the presidential candidates. That person is their running mate. So if you're voting for a Dennis and Kevin presidency, you are voting the already pre-packaged choice for deputy president that the presidential candidate has made. So if that's the case, does it matter what you think about who the deputy president should be?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does in so many ways, because the deputy president is not just an ordinary person. And first of all, let's start from the infrastructure of the constitution that then defines the presidency as is. And you find that in that infrastructure, the deputy president is now not serving at the pleasure of the president de facto, but of course we know that they serve at the pleasure of the president. But in law, that's why today Rigathi is in court trying to canvass his impeachment. The deputy president now must be elected together with the president on a ticket. So it means it does not give a chance for monkey business, because initially the deputy president position was used to balance what I call the concept of the saints and the sinners in power. And that is that the president must always stand out as the saint, and the people around him must always be the sinners. And the deputy president, vice president then, will then be one of the biggest scapegoats, that in case anything huge happens that is going to hit the president that's beyond the ministers, it's the deputy president the vice president then that will take the heat. Today, the incumbent president is being held on account for so many issues which he took the heat for on behalf of President Uhuru. Remember when the question of debts, Raila was raising the question of debts when he was still up, and President Ruto, then deputy president, went to one of the media houses and told one of the interviewers there that if you want to ask about the question of debt, look at me in the face and ask me. I'm the one who understands the question of debt. So basically is the final buffer zone to the presidency. So it implies you must, as a voter, you must think carefully of who then becomes the deputy president as well, because this somebody is literally the heartbeat away from the presidency.
Right.
And just to expound that further, in the instance that Martha Karua and Raila Odinga made it to presidency, today Martha Karua would be the president. So then that calls for it to reflect that anything could happen to the president. The president is a normal human being who goes to the loo like everybody else and eats like everybody else. The only difference that he has a higher responsibility in terms of decision making. So as you go to think about a deputy president, then you must also understand that this is a potential president within that term.
Okay.
Not only because they are waiting for the president to pass, of course it's not the wish, but it's because they can also impeach the president, especially if that deputy president has a lot of power, and we'll come to that in the factors that will make a presidential candidate choose a proper